before it leaves my mind, I am going to tentatively schedule. I think we'll do it. Let me know how y'all feel on the 25th of this month. Let's do the book club the 25th. And don't forget that the book club is making Hispanics. Do not forget about that. That will be the book club. That is the book club selection. I announced it a couple weeks ago or whatever. So make sure if you have not gotten that, it's going to be at the end of this month. We're shooting for the 25th. So please, if you have not picked, it's not really a long read though. That's what makes me think that we can get this out in that amount of time. And I hope to have something else to post in relation to the book. Okay. So listen, so please, let's see if we can get that done. Now, while you're in here, take a moment to hit that like button. Take a moment to hit that subscription button. If you have not subscribed, take a moment to hit that bell. And make sure, double check that bell and make sure that you're getting notifications, right? And hit notifications always, because remember, starting in April, I'm only going to be doing the Wednesday show to make time for some other things that relate to the org and like doing small kind of truncated quick hits and stuff like that, which I haven't been doing because I've been doing 2 longer shows. So it's going to be some switch ups and some changes, not necessarily permanently, but look for that coming in April for those of you who were not here. Okay. Also, if you want to donate, you all know what to do. You can go to, why does my collar keep feeling like? You can go to donatebrown.com. You can go to $breakingbrown for the Cash App, or patreon.com/YCarnell. That's all for you. But remember, you can hit that like while you're in here right now and help the channel. Just hit that button. That'll be wonderful. It's an absolutely free way to help the channel. Come to the book club. If you have a black bookstore near you, please feel free to say, do you all have the making of the Hispanics here? Now, I know it's a black bookstore, but I'm asking kindly. Anyway, fam, let's get to it, because a lot of bookstores, they'll order stuff for you but you all know enough about that. And also, one more housekeeping thing. Please make sure if you have been getting the newsletter, like I said last time, please check your spam and please check your promotions folders. I've been hearing from people who are saying that I haven't been getting the newsletter or whatever, and their name has been on the list. So make sure you check the spam folder. Make sure you check your promotions folder to make sure that that you are, it's not some kind of issue or predicament or something like that. So please make sure that you absolutely take care of that. I would appreciate it, right? We got some things to talk about this show, family. And, we have some stuff to talk about every show. That's just how these shows go. But, some news, and let me just bring up the news that came to me a few days ago. And I said, well, we have to discuss what all of this means. You all saw this a few days ago. And we have talked about Black Lives Matter a lot. We absolutely have. But they have raised an astronomical amount of money. Right? This is a lot of money. Right? So 90 million in 2020. This don't even go back. We don't even know how much was raised before that, right? Just keep that in your head as we talk, or as we get ready to talk. Just look at that and just keep that in your head, right? That's a lot of money, is it not? Now, we're going to talk about something, because when I said on the thumbnail how we lost BLM, I don't think we ever really had BLM. But we still have to talk about how we did not know that we really didn't have them. How did all of this escape us? How did we miss all the telltale signs? What happened? There was a group called Black Lives Matter, and all of a sudden it was all lives matter and doing everything for everyone, everywhere. Now you have to go back and dissect these things. You can't just say, like some people love to say, well, that's just, ain't none of these people ain't no good. No, let's figure out how this happened. Let's figure out how we go here. Sometimes you have to do 2 things. You have to take a eagle kind of perspective, and then you got to come back down and you have to take a granular perspective. So this isn't just like, well, they wasn't never here for us. That's true. But let's look at what we did as we saw this kind of mission creep, because all of us saw the mission creep coming, did we not? How many people can say they didn't see it coming? Show of hands. So what happened? And what was the process? Because the process they use is the same process that was used for a lot of different organizations that was supposed to be black organizations. They just didn't make 90 million, but it's the same process they used to kind of co-opt the thing. Right? This ain't nothing new. So one of the ways they do this is by saying we're people of color or we're BIPOC. Because let me show you something. Let me show you what was supposed to happen. Oh, people of color are doing their thing and you should know. So here's an article that kind of shows you like all of the problems with that. So just pay attention for me, can you kindly? So first of all, people of color. Now just pay attention to all kinds of things. Pay attention to titles and all kinds of things. People of color are protesting. Here's what you need to know about this new identity. This new identity. Now understand what they do. Whenever somebody wants to get something off, they connect it to Negroes. And when I say Negroes, I mean ADOS. And when I say ADOS, I mean whatever you want to call yourself to. Native, Black American, whatever you want to call yourself. I don't care. But that's what they connected to. Black leaders started using the term people of color in the 1960s. And see, what they don't tell you is, well, how many? How much? How long? Why? Because we didn't have all the information we have now that we had in the 60s. But you're using that for a very specific reason. Pay attention, family. They're doing that for a specific reason. I have to grab on hold of this. I have to hitchhike. Because if you hitchhike, understand what happens if you hitchhike. If you hitchhike, let me ask y'all something. If you hitchhike, do you need to buy your own car? If you hitchhike, do you have to buy your own car? No? If you hitchhike, you get to use somebody else's car, don't you? Now you might say, I'm going to give you a little money for gas on the other side of this thing when I get over here, when I get back on my feet. But you are using somebody else's car. And the way you get into somebody else's car is to be, as a hitchhiker, non-threatening. And that's what it looks like. Hey, bro, Black in America, we all in there together. Everybody from feminists to the LGBT movement to trans, everybody, we all black. We all Negro. We all ADOS the same as you. We all suffer. Do we all not bleed? Now, let me just show you a few things about this article, which I find very interesting. This article is from 2020. It's very interesting about how wrong people of color is in terms of any kind of designation. And so that includes the BIPOC thing as well. This little stupid stuff they done made up. I say this confidently because I have observed people of color's politics in the past 3 years. 3 years is a long time, ain't it? In the past 3 years across large scale surveys. Now, hold on a second. Who is talking to me? Because you always got to figure out what the context of is the person talking. So let me back out for a minute. Efren Perez. Okay. Let's get the context. It don't mean nothing. I'm just saying, let's make sure. I want to know if it's ADOS or if it's non-ADOS Black American, if it's a white person. Let me just get the framework. I don't know. Okay. I say confidently because I have observed people of color's politics in the past 3 years across large-scale surveys and experiments that have involved nearly 15,000 people while conducting personal, in-depth interviews with 25 carefully selected Black, Asian, Latino adults. My research reveals that the label people of color was created by and for African Americans and has evolved, we would call color people NAACP, but that wasn't this. But let me just continue. And has evolved into an identity that politically mobilizes many non-whites toward common goals unless people of color feel that others in the coalition are ignoring their racial group's unique challenges. Now, ain't that what just happened to us? Hold on one second. Let me just come out of this for a second. What you're talking about when you mention the unless in 2021, that's exactly what happened to Negroes. The People of Color Coalition that gives us lip service But everybody else gets policy. Well, what kind of policy? What kind of things are they doing, Yvette? Well, even with marriage equality, they got that done. Now, the Supreme Court been kicking our butt left and right, but y'all got that done. And I ain't seen a bunch of LGBT white people just show up for a bunch of Negro stuff. I ain't seen a bunch of multicolored flags show up. So you all force yourselves into our space and use our political capital up for what you want. Then when it comes time for the thing that we need, we don't have it no more. And y'all gone because you made yourselves white. We don't even have the same things that immigrants have. But what do you mean? What are you talking about? We obviously got that Yvette. We got that. No. We don't have health care. We don't have nothing. But let me just show you something really quickly. Biden administration will let migrant families separated under Trump unite inside the U.S. Now listen. I have no problem with uniting families that have been torn apart. I have no problem with that. The problem I have, though, is that if you're a black woman in America and you leave your child alone, your children alone in a hotel, and this woman got a lot of money through GoFundMe after this, or you try to send your kid to a better school district to get a better life, you face charges. See, when we try to do the right thing to get our kids a better life and a better way to be, we face charges and repercussions and consequences. When we break the law, and it is illegal to illegally cross the border, it is. Let's just talk about that. That is illegal. You have broken the law. But when you do it because you're trying to take care of your family and find a better life, it's all right. When we do it, we get in trouble, we get locked up. That's not okay. Right? Right? And it ain't everybody. Right? Because America never treated the Haitians the same way they treated the Cubans. While undocumented black people were touting Biden. No, it ain't never been the same. Go look up what Clinton did to the Haitians while you at it. It's in the Nathan Robertson Super Predator book. Go look that up. But back to my point. So let's see what they're getting. See, because you can't have, remember what I said, something's unfair. If one group gets treated one way and another group gets treated another way, that's unfair. If I have to go to jail or I face charges for trying to get my child a better life and you get a lottery, then you're getting treated better than me. See, we don't have a just society. And we have to start trying to face up to that. There's no other way around that. This is injustice. And it don't matter to me whether, of course, the injustice is being perpetrated by the United States of America. But I don't like injustice just because it benefits somebody who crossed the border. Just because it benefited a brown person, it's still injustice because it doesn't apply to me the same way. So we get to go to jail. Let me show you what they get, and we're gonna talk about how it got to be this unfair and this stupid. So it says, these separated families suffered unfathomably because of what our government did. And we owe them restitution. Family, have we gotten restitution yet? I'm just trying to figure it out. Y'all let me know if we got we still fighting for restitution 400 years in. I'm just asking. I just want to ask a question. I want to tell the truth and shame the devil today. Have we got it? Okay. This includes a permanent pathway to citizenship, care, and resources to help them, said Anthony Romero, executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union. Right? Let's go to the next one. Hold on a second for me. It just don't make no kind of sense to me. The things that people say. So this is what's happening. So you get all of that. Now, wait a minute. How? It also says that they're going to get, hold on, here's the paragraph I was looking for. Now, this is who it includes. It includes people from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, blah, blah, blah. And it says, other benefits and protections for separated families include transportation, healthcare, and mental health services, as well as legal, career, and educational service with no cost passed down to families. Tell me, when has ADOS had any kind of legal services? Can you afford a lawyer today? Can you afford healthcare today? Only the poorest get what is it, a Medicaid? Do all ADOS get access to affordable health care? No. Do we get access to legal care? No. Do we get access to educational service? No. With no cost passed down? Absolutely not. See, before we talk fully about, how BLM got bait and switch, how we got the bait and switch and got con, you have to understand what the bait and switch looks like. You have to understand the people of color bait and switch first. Because if you don't understand the people of color con, you won't ever understand how BLM got away with what they got away with. The only way this happens is because we're all people of color, and we as ADOS have some kind of affection for other people because they have melanin in their skin. Even though they may be anti-black back in their own country, and they come here to get the money because of what they went through. It's survival. They're trying to survive. They ain't thinking about you. They ain't thinking about me. Once you understand how people of color has grappled us together, you begin to understand how BLM was able to get away with this fraud. And that's what it was. There's no other word for it. It was just a fraud. That's all it was. You begin to understand that. And let me just go back to our previous article by Efren Perez about people of color. And remember, the last thing we read is that the people of color coalition kind of falls apart when certain people feel like, you aren't, the coalition isn't working for them. It ain't never worked for us. People have benefited from us, but this coalition never worked for us. So let's go to the next quick little clip. Quote from this article. Starting in 1965, immigration-induced growth introduced new minorities with varied histories. Black leaders emphasized the points of commonality with the new term people of color, whose popularity grew. Now understand something when people tell you stupid stuff about charts, graphs, and all that. So let's look at the top first. This is a chart from the article. Right? Yearly stories in black mainstream newspapers mention people of color 1960s to 2017. I think the 2017 part was cut off, but it don't matter for our purposes here today. Look at what a spike is. You talking about Negroes use people of color. The spike is see, black papers is the solid mark. The spike is in 1965 after the Immigration Act, because we had to, because of what was happening with the act. Trying to be inclusive in 65. After that, it's just flat. It's like a flat line all the way to like 1990 to the 1990s. What are you talking about? We didn't do this. This ain't nothing we did. Let's go to the next quote. Identifying as a person of color means viewing oneself as an interchangeable member of a shared group where one's unique identity as Black, Asian, or Latino is nested under a broader POC category. In fall 2019, I conducted a unique lab experiment with 350 African American, Asian American, Latino college undergraduates age 18 and older from the participant pool of the UCLA Race, Ethnicity, and Politics Society Lab. Members of each racial group automatically associated their own group and other non-whites with the category people of color. A snap judgment made instantly, like potatoes, apparently. What does that mean? Yes, y'all have inundated us with this. Next quote. When galvanized, POC identity directs attention towards racial disparities, their structural roots, and the role of white supremacy in generating them, as illustrated by recent protests against police brutality. While the protests stress black individuals and themes like this is a play, and themes, you see how they talk? This is not a play, this is out, and black, and themes, black individuals and themes. You see, this is a play for them. This ain't real life. They include other people of color who have agreed, consciously or not, that solidarity is what this moment requires. That a black issue is their issue too. Now stick on that, because we saw a lot of people in the protest this summer, but I have seen no indication that people believe that black issues are their issues too. How many people are fighting for reparations who are not black? Huh? All of them probably call into this show. And that while other problems can be placed on this agenda, for instance, reducing the detention of immigrant children, now is the time to keep focus on brutality and black bodies. You see, listen, let me just say something, family. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful when people understand. Well, we gotta focus on black people right now. We're gonna get back to the immigrant children. This whole people of color thing also goes against human nature. The nature of different groups is to fight for people within that group. That's my family. They're my people. It don't mean we oppose necessarily something that somebody else may or may not do, but that is the nature of who we are. And everybody else kept that nature while still calling themselves people of color, except us. See, you don't get to tell me how long we're going to focus on black bodies and then when we're going to shift to immigrant children. I'm not on a people of color agenda. I'm on an ADOS agenda right now. And I have a black agenda too. But you're not going to tell me, well, we're going to get to the immigrant children. That's what happened to BLM. There was a great podcast I tweeted a couple months ago where the woman said that they got kind of lost after Trump got elected and started doing a bunch of stuff that had nothing to do with black lives, nothing to do with ADOS lives, none of that. None of that. How you let people tell you what you gonna do it for, how long you gonna do it? Well, we gonna focus on black bodies for right now, then we gonna do something else. No. We've been here 400 years. Your people got here in 1965. We're gonna focus on black bodies alone right now until we get our redress. We're going to focus on black wealth and ADOS wealth for specifically right now until we get our redress. We're not going to do, you don't get to tell us what we need to do and what we're going to focus on. People of color coalitions have shown that we have allowed people to come in here and co-opt the civil rights movement, our freedom struggle, and put in their struggle and tell us when we're going to do what we're going to do. Do you all know that the Latinos aren't the biggest group in this country? ADOS are. Because we are one cohesive group. They're a hodgepodge of a bunch of different people from a bunch of different countries with nothing in common. You're not a group. We saw it in the election. But everybody wants to tell us what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and how we're going to move. Well, yeah, we got to have people. No, we don't. We're not a party. We're not a Democratic party. Let the Democrats figure that out. We have to advocate for ourselves, and that's how they got in here. You see how they made us group together with all these other people and stuff. That's how BLM fell off. Or how we didn't recognize that they had fallen off and gone a different direction. We didn't recognize it because that's what everybody was doing. Oh, let's just say we are all people of color. We are all BIPOC. Let's just say we, and we gonna navigate as immigrants or as people of color gays or whatever. We always gonna navigate, or as regular gays, because we minorities. We all gonna step into this black thing, this ADOS thing, this freedom struggle, and get exactly what we want. And nobody's gonna be the wiser because we've already diluted what they stand for. We didn't even let them have their own name, and they didn't even try to fight for it. We didn't even try to fight for our own name. We didn't come up with ADOS or nothing like that. Back then, no, we just said, well, we're black. And they said, well, we're going to include a bunch of other people. And we said, well, we're not exclusive. That's fine. So what we have now, pay attention, family. Let me tell you what we have right now. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But we have what I would call dilution through inclusion. Dilution through inclusion. That means that because we have included or allow ourselves to be included in a group with 100 people, from indigenous to immigrants, to Latinos who are not immigrants, who were born here, to everything that is not basically white people, and sometimes white men, because we include feminists in there, white feminists and white women. We have this, it's dilution through inclusion. So we don't have any kind of specificity no more. So we just say, well, I guess if you say they're included, that's all right. Well, when they get included, they drown you out. They drown me out. We can't say nothing because they're included. Now they got a voice and our stuff. And so when you get to BLM, and the reason you have no kind of accountability, that's what they did. They said all marginalized peoples. Now what they did was they built a people of color castle, a LGBT castle on top of Black Death. That's what BLM did. They built a people of color LGBT castle on top of Black Death. That movement is built on black bodies, especially black male bodies. So they gave a bunch of freedom and rights to other groups built out of the bones and dead bodies of black people. Mostly ADOS, mostly men. That's what they did. And we still don't know where the money go. But when you when you don't allow your group, when you say that your group don't have boundaries, my group don't have no boundaries. We include everybody. You can't include everybody. Who are you? Now, we can't have our group and talk to you about what we're going to do and what you're going to do and how we're going to help each other. But we don't just not have boundaries. Who gets to walk up to me and say, Yvette, how would you like somebody to walk up to me and say, Yvette, somebody walk up to you? And like anybody. Or walk up to me and say, we had the best mama in the world. Wait a minute, who are you? You're not my sibling. Well, we just got to be in it together. You don't get to name yourself and decide who you are in relation to me. What they do that at? You don't get to do that. And everybody's doing it. The mothers leading the battle against trans student athletes. What do they say? What do the mothers leading the athletes say? Are they trying to say that they're the same as black people? Is it the same as ADOS people? The same as the freedom struggle? They would not. They would never. But they did. ADF's lawsuit accused trans girls of displacing cis girls, calling policies of trans inclusion discrimination, and calling the trans athletes boys throughout. The lawsuit had its origins in a petition created by one of the cis girls' mothers to segregate sports based on what the mothers say is biological, as opposed to what they sometimes have called gender ideology. The genders are segregated for a reason, Bianca Stamescu told the Hartford Courant. If schools refuse, they might as well just say women don't exist as a category. All this is reminiscent. Wait for it. They got to drag us into all the BS. All this is reminiscent. Matt Tracy at Gay City News of the kind wrote Matt Tracy of Gay City News of the kinds of talking points made by white segregationists who resisted integration. You low down dirty dog. Listen. White gay people love to talk about us, but they don't love to help us. They don't love to, they discriminate against us all the time. You ever see them showing up? But listen, you, Mr. Tracy, whatever, this ain't got nothing to do with us. They're having an argument that has nothing to do with the black freedom struggle. And we should tell him and everybody else where to park. Don't you include us in this mess. You fight your own fight. Whatever that fight is, whatever side you take, I don't care. This is all foolishness to me. But you better figure it out. Don't include us in no trans mess. We ain't got nothing to do with it. This is not what our freedom struggle, unpaid slave labor, a slavocracy. That's what this country is. Peonage, redlining, reconstruction, murder, the KKK has nothing to do with you. And you keep you keep our name out your mouth. That's what you do. You keep our name out your mouth. Ain't nothing got nothing to do with nothing. Everything is always the new black. Gay is the new black. Trans is the new black. Feminism, new black. Black was a creation by white supremacists, but ain't nothing ADOS but ADOS. How come nobody won't tell people when to shut up? Well, Yvette, they might get mad at me. If I say something to them, I don't care. Shut up. Why can't you? You know what I can't understand about people? If you want to build your own movement, then build it, you lazy slart. Build your own stuff. Don't talk about how this is just like the blacks. The blacks went through the same thing. We just like Negroes. We sing Negro spirituals. The hell? Like, if you don't figure out a way to figure whatever madness you're trying to figure out, figure it out. Whatever kind of craziness you're trying to figure out. But because we're so right, like, ADOS is right. And we've always been right in terms of our freedom struggle in this country. If you feel that you may be less right, then what you do is that you say, I ain't got to build a case. I'm just going to say we Negroes. And the Negroes ain't going to say nothing because they scared to say something. They're not going to say nothing to me. They're going to sit there and cower and say, well, I guess she might be. We just got to leave our stuff alone. It's got nothing to do with you. So when you talk about BLM, this is what happened. That's how this happened. That's how we got to this point. That's how we got to this point, right? Nobody said all black lives don't matter, but you were born off of black death. Murder. Ain't nobody talking about that. But we see how this happened. We see how it happened. Nobody said anything. And it kind of made sense. Even when Howard University wrote the amicus for like one of the breach of marriage equality, I said, maybe there's something here. Maybe I'm missing something. Yes. Then you think about that thing, he was like, nah, it ain't. You want to because your alma mater says it is, but nah, it ain't. People are just trying to force it because we're right. And nobody wants to tell nobody where to park. And that you can't have our freedom struggle. Nobody wants to say, listen, you can't have something that belongs to us. There is definitely an argument to be made that even the feminism was something that was put upon us to take attention away from the civil rights movement and funnel white women dollars back to white families. There are arguments to be made that all of you have done things that are dastardly to ADOS. There are arguments that can be made, and we shall make them. You saw another instance of this in this article: immigration enforcement and the afterlife of the slave ship. Listen, if a country with borders picks you up and takes you back home, and all countries have borders, that has nothing in common with the slave ship. Y'all really trying me. Look at this really quickly. Coast Guard cutters, Haitian sailing vessels, and European slave ships represent a triad of instances in which people of African descent have suffered involuntary concentration in small spaces upon the Atlantic. But you suffered that voluntarily. Let me just tell you, let me just go to this. Now, here's something we can talk about. You're right about. This part is right. Right? We were witnessing the aftermath of the CIA orchestrated February coup against President Jean-Bertrand Aristide and the subsequent invasion of U.S. Marines under the auspices of international peacekeeping. Haiti was at war. I mean you no disrespect. I agree with you. That's an argument against American imperialism. I'm with you on that. I am opposed. That doesn't make you me or me you. Yes, I as an American oppose American imperialism. That doesn't make me Haitian. And it doesn't make you be able to take anything or compare yourself in any way to what we have endured in this country. What you have endured is in your country. Now, America has played a role, but the biggest part of the role was played by France. We are not the same. Pump your brakes. You have a really good case against France, and you got some other stuff against America. That is true. But pump your brakes. We are not the same. So let's bring up another quote. The legal architecture through which the United States Coast Guard, that's what it's saying, legitimates the indefinite detention and expulsion of Haitian asylum seekers reaches back to U.S. efforts to suppress the African slave trade. Outlawed by Congress in 1807, though domestic slaveholding would continue, and indeed its trade would be not safeguarded but bolstered by the act. Revenue Cutter Service captains turned the lack of any description in the 1808 law or its successive iterations about what should be done with temporary masterless slaves into an advantage. They did what they would have done to any fugitive black person at the time. Indefinitely detain them until higher authorities determined their status, and thereby foreclose the possibility of local black people conspiring to shuttle them into freedom. During confinement, captured Africans were compelled to perform labor as if they were slaves. For instance, those captured from the Spanish-flagged Antelope spent 7 years toiling at Savannah, at a military fort in Savannah, Georgia, as well as on the local U.S. Marshals plantation. As wards of the state, they were human only insofar as U.S. officials had a duty to force them to remain alive. Yeah, I understand that. That's fine. Now they go to how there was a stench on the slave ship and there was a stench on my ship because it's a refugee ship. It's just not the same thing. No, there was people were secreting stuff, and it was a lot of light. No. What you forget is that we're citizens of this country. And we should, as citizens, not be in favor of any kind of policy that tramples on your rights as a sovereign country. I agree with that. And I oppose any kind of intervention. The kind of intervention that happened in Haiti, the kind that happened in Honduras. Wasn't that the Clintons and all them? Well, who was that? Or Hillary Clinton, the State Department? I don't know. Honduras, talk to me. So I oppose all of it, and I think we should. That doesn't make you me. Doesn't make me you. Right? They even have Asians lumped up with blacks, which is interesting right now with all the infighting and discourse with Asians right now about ADOS. They're attacking us in the streets. I don't condone anybody attacking anybody. But I do remember a young woman getting shot by an Asian shopkeeper. And I remember a bunch of instances not too long ago where some Asian people wrestled people to the ground, black people. I'm not saying anybody should do anything. I do not condone violence, but let's get to the truth and the heart of this. Y'all can't clump us together when these two groups have nothing in common. We don't have capital. We're not moving into Asian communities with businesses and nail shops and weave businesses doing stuff that the people in that community can't afford to do or have the connect to do to suppliers in terms of hair that we don't have the connect for. No, we're not doing that to you. We don't have the capital to do that. We don't have the capital to do what you're doing. We're not siphoning from you. Doesn't condone anybody attacking anybody. But if you want to have the conversation, let's have the conversation. You're white. You are white people. You are not minorities. You are not people of color. That should be no shame to nobody. You can't be richer than white people and not be white people. You super white people. Well, what you mean, Yvette? How they gonna be? How you say that? Are Asian Americans people of color? First of all, let's look at one thing. Most Asian adults in the U.S. are foreign born. Now that's going to mean something in a minute. Now I want you to look at something. Let me bring this a little bit smaller. 2016 versus 2020, because I want you to see something. Hold on. This is the foreign born amount. So let's get to the Asians on the bottom. Woo. 2016, 78% foreign born. Now let's go to why that makes sense. Let's look at something. Asians have the highest earnings, except among lower income adults. The 90th percentile, that's people who make big money. Or not big money, but bigger money than us. But like you look at the black, that's that light one, that light beige. That's 80,000. This is the 90th percentile, this is the top. You see Asian in the green are outpacing everybody. You can't be doing better than white people and considered people of color or minority. You should be considered white. So you go, because this is tied to plunder, it's tied to disadvantage. You have no disadvantage. So you go down to the bottom and they say they're doing worse. Asians, remember what the title was? Asians have the highest earning except for low income adults. Because you go to this 10th percentile. And you see Asians once again as the beige, as this kind of, green, and the black as the lightest beige. You're doing better than us. But here's the other part about it. Part of the reason you probably have some of you have the lowest income is because all y'all just got here. Give them a generation. Understand that you have done better than us. And you came and you were foreign born and you have leaped over us. And people are considering us the same. See, all of this, family, understand something. All of this is why Black Lives Matter got that con off. That's how they got the con off. You got this people of color, everybody. We all in this together. We minorities, we people of color, we BIPOC. That lets you do whatever you want to do. Say whatever you want to say. And this is what we end up, fam. When you let people do that, we end up right here. Understand, this is what we end up. We end up with BLM saying they launched a survival fund and federal COVID relief. Wait a minute. Y'all got 90 million in 1 year, and you're giving let me show you what they're giving. I ain't gonna tell you. Let me just show you. The Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is formally expanding a $3 million financial relief fund that it quietly launched earlier this month to help people struggling to make ends meet during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Now, mind you, hold on, wait a minute. Now, I want you to stop right there. Let me come out of there for a second. Let me come out of there for 1 second. I got to go back because it's something that we just got to see. I want you to look at this. Look at this real quick. Do you see the date on this? This is February 2021. This was last month, the end of last month. I want you to look at that 1 second for me. These people are launching pandemic relief at the end of a pandemic. Wait a minute. Y'all had this money a long time ago. Y'all could have done this. Y'all doing this just to save face. You come at the end of a pandemic and say, we gonna do some stuff. We fit to. Hold on. We gonna give people some stuff. Listen, you dumb dummies. They giving out vaccines now. And you talking about we got some stuff for you. Black Lives Matter is doing some stuff. Give all the money back. Give all those people refunds. Everybody who gave you money deserves that money back. $90 million. There was no policy passed. There was nothing. You're awful. You're awful. You are a cancer to your people. Look at what they're doing with this little 3 million or whatever. The foundation, which grew out of the creation of the Black Lives Matter movement nearly 8 years ago, said Thursday that it plans to make up to 3,000 micro grants, 3,000 of $1,000 each to people who it believes need it most. Child, they're gonna give $1,000. And what's this gonna end up? This is gonna end up being like $3 million. What they say here, 3 million. Child, $3 million. You got 90. What the other 87 Black Lives Matter? Where's the other 87? What white person got all this money? Because I know y'all ain't did the accounting for it. You don't know how to do it. What white person got all this money? Since because we let y'all be exclusive and talk about people of color, and we're elevating LGB, and we're elevating trans, and we're centering them, and we said we don't want to be. Everybody said we don't want to be excluded. We don't want to exclude nobody, so let them do it. You see what happens when you let them do it? What happens when you let them do it is this. Now, you got to apply to these grants. This is the BLM official application, family. The official application to the grant they got going. The BLM Survival Fund is open to anyone who identifies as black with special consideration for people who are transgender, single caregivers, or formerly incarcerated. Understand the formerly incarcerated came last. Because it's men. But y'all built y'all whole movement on the death of ADOS people, black people, especially black men. The formerly incarcerated come last. Huh. And anyone who identifies as black. So Rachel Dolezal, can she come over there and get some of that money? I'm just asking a question. Can Rachel Dolezal come get that money? Let me just say something. Everybody should. BLM is not a Black Lives Matter movement. It is a transracial, transgender movement. And you can do whatever you do. I make no bones of whatever you want to do. But stop taking money from our people and white people who think they're helping. Change your name to Transracial and Transgender Lives Matter and move on. But we have to understand that the way that they were allowed to do this, and the way that everyone is allowed to do this, is to just kind of broaden the scope and say everybody's included. We don't draw no boundaries. You gotta have boundaries, family. Please understand me. You gotta have boundaries. We are ADOS, period. Point blank, the end. That's it. That doesn't talk about who we deal with, who we engage with politically. We have no permanent friends. We have permanent interests. So we will make temporary deals. But we know who we are. You can't have nobody talking about Black Lives Matter, but we centering this and we doing that, and people of color this and immigrant that. And we say, well, all right. Because you're forcing us to gather up with people who are not natural allies. And melanin does not make you a natural ally to us. No. Being gay doesn't make you a natural ally to ADOS. No. Being trans doesn't make you a natural ally to ADOS. Being a woman, no. Being a feminist, no. ADOS is specific. American descendants of slavery. That's it. But when you allow people to branch off and kind of do this thing that they do and just try to include everybody to grow their numbers, you're going to get a con artist. You're going to get somebody running a con. That's just what it is. There's no way around it. And then everything is going to be the new black. Let me show you. Did I show y'all how Slavics is the new black? Hold on. What is this little thing? Hold on. Wait a minute, fam. I saw the most interesting thing today. So there's this, I think it's in Oregon. So I saw this and it says, this man said, according to the Coalition of Communities of Color, we Slavs are now people of color. And I said, what is this place that they talking about, and what is he saying? I had to check it out for myself because I didn't believe it. And I think it's in Oregon, the Coalition of Communities of Color, right? And it says and who it includes people, communities of color, African, African American, Asian, Latino, Middle Eastern, North African, Native American, Pacific Islander, and Slavic. And I said, somebody gonna have to hold my mule. Somebody gonna have to hold my mule. Because I didn't never see this one coming. Child, they'll include anybody. How you gonna tell somebody they're not a people of color now? That's why it has to be about lineage. That's why it has to be about lineage. These people just saying, we everybody, and we do everything. And let me just say, before I go to the phones, let me just say what this is. What Black Lives Matter did was the harvesting of Black death. It was the harvesting of Black death. They harvested Black death to create movements for other groups that didn't include ADOS or Black people in general, for the most part. It was the harvesting of Black death. Some of y'all who out there are gardeners, you know how you use like dead leaves and stuff to grow, to compost, to grow something else? That's what they did. And if you don't have boundaries as a people, if you don't have boundaries as a group in terms of who you are and who you allow in and who you allow to be a part of your tribe, this is going to keep happening. And that's how we lost BLM. BLM was never ours. It was always intended to be this thing. But we could have stopped it and say, ain't nobody giving no more money to you. And listen, white people, I know y'all don't know enough, but don't give no more money to them. We couldn't do it because we too, not me. We were all like, well, we just want to be inclusive. No, we don't. No, nobody else does that. And we shouldn't do it either. As the people on the bottom rung of America, we don't get to be inclusive like that. That's not how this goes. All right? And I think we need to understand that. If we don't understand that, people will continue. If we don't have boundaries, people will continue to push our boundaries. I mean, push into us and say like, no, I'm just like you. We have to have boundaries. And we have to enforce those boundaries. And we have to say, we are ADOS. Right? We have to do that. No, you're not me. We listen, if you got it right, we can do some stuff. We can work together if you're on the right page. But you're not going to tell me that I am just a person of color. You are not going to tell me that I am the same as somebody who just got here yesterday. You're never going to tell me that. You're never going to convince me of that. You're never going to force me into a group that I don't belong to. And you don't get to define me. If we don't get that together, there will be a whole bunch of BLMs. Somebody will just recreate it and get all the money and send the money to who knows where. It's probably some white people all the way behind that money, got that money and gone and laughing at Negroes being so silly. It's just what has to happen. So fam, give me a second to set up the phones. Gosh, I swear, spring must be coming because my eyes are starting to water something terrible. Anyway, give me a second, fam, to set up the phones. We will be back as usual, and we will have the conversation. I want to know what you thought. What you thought when you saw BLM raise 90 million in 1 year. What popped up in your head? What could you have done with the money? What do you think Black politics, ADOS politics, could have done with the money? Right? So I just want to answer that for me. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about it and talk to me about why we don't have borders. Like, why do we as a group just allow anybody in to say whatever they want to say and say, like, I'm the same as you? Why do we do that? So I'm going to go to the phones and I want us to really kind of answer some of those questions. I'll be back in a few seconds. Keep it easy breezy. are back. We are back, and I'm going straight to the calls. Hold on 1 second for me, fam. Okay. 205. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Yvette. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself? How you doing, fam?
I'm doing all right. This Joshua from Tuscaloosa.
I remember.
And the problem with Black Lives Matter, I think was called out early on, but we have to take accountability as a group of people for choosing to ignore certain people when they speak out. And that might be because of social status, financial status, whatever, because a lot of this stuff comes from the university, like Dr. Thomas Curry talks about. A lot of this conflation, comes from the university. But I would like to say a person who called them out early on. He's no longer with us. Rest in peace, Darren Seals of Ferguson, Missouri.
Absolutely.
And he called them out, and he was precise about what they were doing and what we see now that they're doing.
Uh-huh.
And, and I'm not going to say that we can't salvage no good out of Black Lives Matter, but you made a good point when you said, are there any lawyers that, like every Black Lives Matter, I'm not just picking on Black Lives Matter, whether it be ADOS, whether it be Black Lives Matter, whether it be the NAACP. We should have no problem having pro bono lawyers, because we have all these organizations that claim to represent us, but when we go through things, we have nowhere to turn. I can bring up just the situation I'm in, and then I don't mean to be personal, but I won't bring it up just because I won't, take up time. But, it's a lot of things going on, and I appreciate you for the work you done and you continue to do. And I hope we can all get on one accord, regardless of what organization we in, Black Lives Matter, FBA, ADOS, everything, Yvette, because I think our genocide is more important than the infighting.
Well, let me just talk to you. Let me just talk to you about it, fam. First of all, honestly, there's no such thing as FBA. See, like, one of the things we have to do is start being honest about stuff. And I know it's hard for us because we want to love our people regardless of what they do or how they act. Right? We want to love our people. And so we want to grab arms and do that with our people. We want to, but the problem that we have is that, we don't understand. Do you remember Reverend Ike?
Reverend Ike, he was like a prosperity preacher.
Yes.
I think I heard of him in the past.
Yeah. Yes, so what I'm saying is Reverend Ike he had a bunch of Rolls Royces and stuff like that. And so part of the thing that happens, though, is that not enough people call out people who are pimping the people. Because, see, if you pimping the people, you can't be down for the people. At the same time, you can't do those two things at the same time. And so that's why I always say exclusion is as important as inclusion. We have to learn. We don't have to learn to support each other. Listen, we as black people have mostly supported each other. The problem is that we have not learned as a people that we have to draw boundaries around certain things, and certain people can't get in because they're predatory within the community. That's just what it is.
Yes, man, and I clearly understand that. But the point I'm trying to make is that, and you're right. I'm not saying that people do pimp. It's like it's the race hustle, And yes, anytime people see a time they can exploit genocide, they're gonna do it. But we can say this all day that Black Lives Matter is not, good for the people, or FBA is not good for the people as a whole. But that don't mean because we say that those certain groups are gonna stop what they're doing and stop existing.
It's not a group, though. It's not a group, though. Like, listen, let me say something. But let me say something.
I remember Tavis Smiley.
It was a good show.
And on his panel, he would let people, like, different groups speak.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that Tavis
But
Smiley
he would.
was a part of the Nation
Let me
of
say something. No.
Islam.
Let me say something. No. Let me say something. No. Tavis Smiley would have never let FBA speak because there is no FBA. Like the reason he let Farrakhan speak is because there are thousands of people in the Nation of Islam who do stuff. Like some go into the prisons and they have mosques in a lot of places. So whether or not you agree or disagree with the Nation of Islam, you have to agree this is an actual organization that actually does things, right? Whether you agree or disagree. I have had my disagreements with Farrakhan, but you cannot say that this is not an organization. I can absolutely say unequivocally the FBA is not an organization. It's a grift for one man. That's different. I'm not going to let grifters in. Now, if you got your own thing, I just disagree with you, right? And I just have a disagreement with you. I'm not going to say you can't come. So I understand exactly why Tavis Smiley allowed Farrakhan to come, because he has people. He has an organization that from all the way from back when Elijah Muhammad to Malcolm X that goes years and years back. Yes, that's an actual entity. FBA is just a name, right? And it doesn't it's not. There's no organizing. There is no political.
You're right,
anything.
Yvette, and I don't mean. I just know my time is short, and you're right. I'm not going to give you no pushback on it. But I would like to end by saying, please, everybody, check out Darren Steele's conversation where he had shortly before he died. I think that would be very educational in regards to this conversation.
I agree. I agree.
And I love the work you do, Yvette. Congratulations on that Yale video.
Thank you, fam.
I checked it out and shared it to all my friends.
I appreciate you, fam. I thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for calling in. And I think. I knocked the thing out. Lord of mercy. If y'all was on the line, I just knocked you off the line, I think. But I think the conversation he brought up was still a good conversation. In terms of I think I got you back. In terms of like people be like, why don't you go do FBA? FBA is not an entity. They have no organizational structure. They have no people on the ground. They have no organizers. They have no activities. They have no legislative agenda. Only thing they can say is, oh my God, they're trying to steal the people of color are stealing the California bill. Well, Tariq, if you in California, get your big butt up and go do something about it. Or you just gonna talk? Okay, you just gonna talk. I don't deal with people who like I talk long enough on YouTube, and then people kept telling me, hey Yvette, can you do something other than talking? I said, well, let's do something, let's build. If you can't do that, then you're not in movement politics. And if you're not in movement politics, I don't have to include you in anything. Especially if you're a pimp. Now it's fine to be a pimp and have it. Well, I don't think it's fine, but whatever, I ain't gonna bother you. I don't go around bothering people. I leave people to their business. Go grift on your own. However many people want to buy your videos or whatever. This is just, I don't think people understand that ADOS, and which has been recreated as FBA by Tariq, is just a marketing campaign so that he can talk about buck breaking and stuff like this. This is just a rollout. He don't care about y'all. He don't care about none of us. This is a rollout. This is how you market stuff. It's how you get attention. It's how you ride on the backs of ADOS. That's why he did all this. He was all about Zamumba and Wakanda before we came here. That was his life. So, like, yeah, he has no space here. Like, I honestly don't think about Tariq until somebody brings him up. He's irrelevant to my life. Because I'm a serious person and he's a child. That's just what it is. That's not nothing to argue about or be mad about. Like, just different things. That's all. Anyway, I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 252. 252, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, hello. Hey, Yvette.
What's going on, fam?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Ain't much. Yeah, this is William Dickens out of Winston-Salem.
Okay.
I'm with twins. I'm with Triangle ADOS, and I sit and listen to so many things with our group, and I think the hardest thing we have, to me, to understand is one thing you say a lot in your show is, I can connect the dots to it. I think that's keep going over people's head, because all the stuff is tied together. If I don't want you to be able to pay attention to the real focus, right?
Okay.
I throw a lot of stuff at you, right? Creating a ball of confusion.
That's true.
See, if I create the ball of confusion, it's hard for you to see the target. You see?
Yep.
I throw some transgender in there. I throw a couple different black organizations in there. I throw some grifters in there. I throw people in there that start standing off their square and they cause divisions. But understand this, Yvette, you say this all the time, and no matter what I watch you on, and I'm telling you, when I watch you and tone on stuff, you stand on your square. You don't let nobody back you down from saying, I am ADOS.
Mm-hmm.
You never have done it. And the biggest thing we got to understand, it's like it works fine when white supremacy come up and let's say a guy go off or a female go off into the military, right? They go off into the military. The white military say, this is the enemy. See, even when you go to the military, right, they train you by getting in your face, talking junk to you, turn you down to say, this is the enemy. See, this is what we forget about in real life, in real time. When you go in that military, they get right in your face, and they get on the ground, give me 10, do this, do this. Then they put a weapon in your hand, and they say, that's the enemy. And I'm going to give you a $10,000 bonus. And what you do, you go over there and start killing. See, this is what we don't really talk about a lot. What we are saying right here, Adolf, pick your side. Pick your side. This is my side. Adolf is my side. Tone and Yvette woke me up. I have no pride in not giving y'all the credit for what the work you done did.
Oh, thank you, fam.
Had I did some work on my own? Yes, I had. But y'all answered the why and turned on a chain reaction inside of me. And I won't ever take that credit from y'all. Never. What you saying tonight is the same thing you've been saying, Yvette. When the white, I go back to it. When he say that's the enemy, blacks do not push back. They put on that hard hat, they throw on their weapon, they start killing.
Ooh.
Part of our mental problem is, Yvette, you are ADOS. Tone is ADOS. Blacks are struggling with you saying, I'm your team. This is the enemy. Like within our own group, all through all of our history, Yvette, we can go back to all of our history. How many uprisings where they told the story? Who did they have to kill first, Yvette?
The traitors.
Our own.
The traitors.
Our own. Stop struggling with it. They have, our group has been mentally forced to see things with upside down glasses. And they can always find a Herschel Walker. They can always find these people because they know how they done wired us. When somebody like you...
They built the wiring, so they know what the wiring is. No, slow down, fam. You said they know how they wired us. So if you built the house and you wired the house, you know what the wiring is. Ooh.
You know what the wiring is. Now, to understand, to break this, you said this before on your show, you can't be scared to think for yourself. Period. Whether you get it wrong or get it right. If you get it wrong, you go back to the drawing board, you do it again. Plain and simple. All these blacks, all these ADOS people in this country are not going to fall in line with us. We need to counsel that. Stop thinking it's going to happen. It's not. It never has happened. Remember, Harriet Tubman said, Yvette, I could have freed so many more.
Well, I think that
if they
quote is
only
wrong, but I get you.
They were slaves. Huh?
I said, I think that quote is wrong, but I get you. I get the meaning of it, though.
She basically saying, you don't, listen, it's never happened in history. It's not going to happen now.
Yeah, you're never going to get, like Martin Luther King didn't have everybody. He didn't have the majority, and he said we could have got farther if more Negroes came along, too. He slammed Negroes, too, for like not, so we don't need that, though. We don't need everybody. Stop trying to figure out how to get everybody. Tell people what it is and what you stand for and what you're working on and why it's true. Get them information and then walk off. Like, just like y'all came to it, they'll come to it, or some won't, some will, but you just got to feed them information. You ain't got to fight with them or like put them in a neck hold and wrestle. You ain't got to do that.
We know this is the truth. This is, Yvette, we did down ballot when we voted. I did it, you did it,
yep.
So on ballot. Understand, right now, what we said is happening. Joe Biden is being who he is. I don't care how many people didn't like when I said down ballot. Look what's happening. We was right. We knew who he was. We stood on it. What we must understand, right, is we got to stand our ground. We got to keep our gate up. We're not going to get everybody. We don't. As things unfold and this harsh reality becomes so inevitable, the immigration is a dominant impact on ADOS women and ADOS men. Our truth is going to shine. It don't matter what you want. It's going to shine. And we just stand on it. Yvette, love you.
Love you back, fam. I appreciate
you. We got to get our people to be able to connect these dots and stop one. You're not going to, it's never happened.
And it's all right. And it's all right.
When you work out,
and that's all right.
When you go to the gym and work out, what you going to work out to do, Yvette?
I'm going to get myself
fit. When you go work out, you go to do what? You go to shed the fat to get to the muscle, right, Yvette?
That's right.
You go shed the fat to get to the muscle. When we shed the weight, we get to the most strongest of our group. That makes us stronger.
Ooh, you done said a word, fam. You done said a word. So guess what that means? That means we shouldn't be scared of shedding, don't it?
We shouldn't be scared of shedding. Because I need to get stronger.
Got to get strong. Got to build that up. And it's all about what we intake. When you working out to build muscle, fam, what you do? You eat what? And you drink what? Protein. Right?
That's right.
It's all about the intake.
That's right. This information you giving is the protein, the nutrition to build on that muscle. And if people don't understand that, they still are not understanding ADA. They still ain't able to connect these dots.
You absolutely right, fam. You absolutely right. I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. I'll say thank you, fam. And I'll say one other thing. Listen. It's just like people tell you when you eat and stuff like that, when you talk about protein and he talk about the food, you can't outrun a bad diet. People be like, well, I'm just going to work out a little bit and eat whatever I want. No, you ain't. Because 2 hours in the gym is 2 cupcakes. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. Your intake is so important. Just like your gym activity is important, but your intake is so important. But you got to shed the fat. People be running after the fat. Oh my God, we losing people. You losing fat. Why would you be upset about losing that? Let it go. Anyway, let me go to my next call. I'm going to 314. 314. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, my name is Will.
Hey, Will.
And first of all, that line you said about harvesting Black death, that is like very powerful. Because that's what's really happened. And, I live in an area, St. Louis area where Michael Brown was killed. So, that statement is so true. But one of the things that I see that's been a problem is education. And this is why I like your channel so much, is because you provide education. And your education is so, it's like a person has to, when they hear the stuff, it's like their whole mindset. It's like my grandparents who are dead. If they heard you when they were alive, they could relate to what you're saying, but they will understand more now because they would have understood the political side that they didn't understand when they were alive.
Well, let me say something, fam. Let me say something, fam. I think they would understand in some ways better than people who are alive today.
I agree. But it seems like that there's always pushback. And I sure, all the books that you share, I've read most of the books, especially The Color of Law, When Affirmative Action Was White. When you share those books and you say, hey, these are like legitimate books by academics. I'm talking about sharing with Black people, my people. Because they think it's, when they always think that there's some catch or something. I said, no, this is a legitimate book on Amazon by a professor at a major university. And no one has really refuted these books. There's been very few critical writings that I've seen against most of the books that you picked out. And so the data is there, the historical government policies, the Jim Crow policy, all that is there. And they all said the same. The reason why there's a racial wealth gap is because of government policy, bad government policy, from the past.
Absolutely.
And even today. So, anyway, I just commend you and thank you for the work you're doing.
No, thank you, fam. I appreciate it. People don't want to, you got to get into this thing. If you read, you got to get into that thing. It ain't no easy thing because they like to keep us on Instagram. They like to keep us on Twitter and on Facebook. And I try to share a lot of information there, so I'm there. So it ain't no easy thing. But like they try to just keep us there all the time, so we won't really delve into this stuff. We know we the best things on Twitter. We know that like we keep Twitter informative and fun and all of that. We know that, but like I think we have to get more into doing other stuff too. That like we got to eat our vegetables. Ain't nothing wrong with some cotton candy, like I said last time. Ain't nothing wrong at all with having some fun. Don't let nobody tell you no different. You got to have some joy in your life. But we have to eat our vegetables too, and vegetables are intellectual as well. It's not just the broccoli I had for dinner. It's other stuff too. So anyway, let me go to my next call, fam. I'm going to 914. 914. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette, this is Tyler calling from New York. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, Tyler. What's on your mind today?
This is a real powerful conversation, and I appreciate you for this because and I also want to touch on that piece that the caller mentioned in terms of that harvesting Black death that you said, because what they're doing is they're harvesting Black death and they're selling it to everybody else. That is literally what Black Lives Matter. After all these hundreds of years and all this oppression, we've just mutated the process in terms of how we sell Black people to other people.
Ooh.
So before it was, so now we sell your movement, we sell your cause, we sell your pain, we sell your blood equity to everybody else so that they can use in their arguments to argue for whatever it might be. Like the person who was talking about like the women or transgender people in sports. That's what that person is buying into. That person is buying that piece of our struggle and what we went through and using it to argue for another advantage that they allegedly need.
So you saying they selling the struggle? So instead of just like selling slaves, they selling the struggle to other groups, making a grip off that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just another way for them to sell us. And Black Lives Matter, while I'm sure there's different people in there who might have good intentions who try to identify with it and try to make a difference, what it does, and you talked about masks before, it provides this space where it's not an indictment of whiteness. So what happens is it's an easy way for a person to say, well, Black Lives Matter. It's a very vague kind of statement, just like you talked about the other day in terms of like those statements that's a baseline. Like you're not really fighting for my justice when you say that. You're just kind of stating something that should be obvious. Like that's just basic citizenry. That's just basic humanity, as opposed to actually fighting for my justice claim. So what happens is it becomes this kind of statement. So I support BLM, so I can't be racist. The same way that there was a time when people would say, and still do, I voted for Barack Obama, so I can't be racist.
True, yeah.
And once again, it doesn't really get to the heart of what race has done to us and what needs to be undone and fixed. So it's very easy to say, you can just say, oh, well, and pretty much the argument is you shouldn't kill innocent Black people who are unarmed. And that's easy to say. You're not really making a revolutionary statement, but people are running around like that's a revolutionary
Yeah, like that's
statement.
deep. He said some deep stuff. Yeah. And they don't have to do anything after that, fam. They don't have to do anything after that. You can say, I don't believe in the Black people should be murdered, and I gave $100 to BLM, and you're free.
Just like that. And the statement and what they do in terms of their movement, like, it doesn't take the recognition beyond the obvious lynching. So we can talk about racism now if we have an unarmed Black person who has been killed by the state. But can you talk about Cancer Alley, though? Can you talk about the hookworm? Can you talk about the lead in the water? Can you talk about the racial wealth gap and what needs to be undone? Because if you can't really get to the heart of those things, then are you really trying to fight to undo race and fix this problem?
True. Absolutely, fam. Absolutely. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
And they just end up in a space where you, once again, you get to identify with the longest standing freedom struggle of the group responsible for building the richest country in the world, and act like, once again, you're a person of color. It's this concept of, well, we're just all the same, right? We're just all the same. We all deal with oppression, right? We're all the same. And to add to that, because even, once again, between or within, like, when you compare ADOS to other groups who come in here, because someone recently has spoken about, like, how all people who have melanin have to deal with the stigma. So you gotta be real. What the cost of blackness is that we are dealing with is way deeper than a stigma. And for you to even just say that it is only a stigma and it is not intergenerational pillage and it is not intergenerational theft is very disrespectful to us.
Absolutely.
And it's just another way. Go ahead.
No, I said absolutely. They said, well, and that's a way to kind of include everybody. So you got to change the language. You can't say it's slavery and all this stuff, because I wasn't included in it, right? As a people of color person. So I got to just say stigma, so to make sure that everybody gets included, right? It's a stigma. That's what you got to say if you're Dr. I won't even say his name, but you know who I talked about that for. That's what you got to say, because you are a mule. Right, you are a mule for the people of color coalition. You do not stand up for your people, because stigma. There are a lot of people from Asians who and remember the Indian man. Y'all remember the Indian man who got paralyzed by the police? He was stigmatized too. That doesn't make him us. There are a lot of groups who have been stigmatized. They don't make them ADOS.
No, absolutely. And the last thing, just because it ends up watering down our contributions. And when it comes to boundaries, just like you say, like, if you cannot draw boundaries, if you cannot protect what is yours, how are you free at all in the richest country in the world?
You ain't.
We can't be the people who built the house and then we're just okay with being the doormat. It just doesn't work that way.
Oh, you can't be the people that built the house and you're okay with being the doormat. Let me tell y'all something. The doormat usually ain't even inside the house. It's usually on the front porch. So you build a house you can't even live in, and you just there for people to step on and get inside. Ooh, that's awful. That is awful. That's an awful, awful thing. You right, fam. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Yvette. I know you got callers in the queue. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, fam. That was a word.
Night.
I appreciate you calling in. We got some good callers. I appreciate that. I'm going now to 256. 256. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. It's the guy Trey Flay. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm doing all right. How about yourself? You
I'm doing
COVID
all
free
right.
out there?
Thanks for taking my call. I just want to say that Black Lives Matter is a sham. And I don't understand how black people don't see that it's a sham. One thing I want to say is that you have been like literally plucking the scales out of our eyes so that we can see what is going on and what's being done. I just want to thank you for that, because without you, like, I'd probably be a Black Lives Matter protester. I probably would have been working on Biden's campaign. I would have been doing normal Democrat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that you probably would have been saying, because we didn't know. We were just like, well, this is the only option for us, because there was no other lane created. So we didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know. And I can completely see, without you, I would have been just another Democratic operative, I guess you would say. Just like Black Lives Matter, they're heavily funded, and when you see black organizations being heavily funded, you know that they're no longer for black people.
Ooh.
So that's one of the things that I noticed with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it was so much money. And then the thing is, like, they didn't have to do anything, right? So that the head of BLM is no longer associated with BLM. And like, don't nobody even tell us that, like, Alicia Garza is no longer with it. She's on TV talking about it, and the people don't get any attention in terms of the activists about how they ain't getting no money no more, and all kind of stuff is going on. It's just like, dude, this is and remember the show I did where they all this money and it was going to all these white organizations that was doing something with the money. Once you see funny money, and the people in BLM say, we don't know, we didn't get it. And then the people who's supposed to be heading BLM say, well, we don't control the money either. Well, who control the money? That's always my who control the money.
Yeah, and if we had got $9, ADOS had got $9 freaking dollars, they'd be like, well, where did $9 go?
Yeah, what did $9 go?
I sent $1.
I think Yvette bought some Cheetos.
Where's the money? And it's like Black Lives Matter's running around here with billions of dollars, and nobody wants to say anything or take a look at them or hold them accountable. We don't know how to hold people accountable. We don't know how to hold politicians.
But you know what we do know how to do, fam?
Accountable.
You know what we know how to do? We know how to fold people in even when they're wrong. Like, we don't know how to hold people accountable. We know how to give second chances, though, and third chance, and fourth chance, and fifth chance. Even when somebody done ran away with the whole bank, went in the bank, and took all the money out. Well, he was struggling. He had some problems. He went in the bank and took all the money. Well, you just can't. You so harsh, Yvette. You so harsh. He's a thief. We don't know how to, say, you can't do this. You can't be here if you steal money and go do something. Like, we don't even know how to do that.
Nope. We don't know. We don't understand that everything that happens for a reason, right? And when you see funny stuff happening, it's happening for a reason. We've been seeing all of this stuff arise about the guy that killed Fred Hampton, the letter from the man from Malcolm X. If y'all not paying attention to these signs, you need to be. Our organizations are always attacked from the inside.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Keep that in mind.
Fam, say that again for me, though, fam. Our organizations are always attacked from the inside. What does that mean? That means you got to be very careful about who's on the inside. So people be like, Yvette, you guys got to include everybody. No, you got to be very careful about who's on the inside. Because somebody's on the inside always is talking to somebody on the outside. And it's usually somebody who you think is very nice. Right? Remember the photographer in the civil rights movement is usually somebody who is, they're so wonderful. And they get everybody's whatever. You better be very careful about the people in the center of the stuff. Very, very careful.
Yep. We've seen it firsthand. We don't have to look at a history book. We don't have to look at no movies, no documentaries. We have seen insurgency firsthand.
We have, ain't we? We done seen it. We done had a lot of that around here.
Yep.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. That was a word. I appreciate you calling in, fam. Thank you. Whew. It happens all the time. I'm going now to 785. 785, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey.
It's Joan from Kansas.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How the pets and stuff? How everything coming?
Oh, that's they're like two little lions running around. They're big, real big cats.
I'm sure they think they lions. Cats think they lions as babies. Rawr.
Yeah, they do. I just wanted to call in because, well, first of all, I'm an old woman, and BLM, I knew they were a con the minute they started getting traction. White folks have always used a black face for their scheming and lying and stealing.
Ooh.
So that was, to me, I really haven't paid much attention to them because when I first saw those two women that was supposed to be ahead of it, I don't know, a couple of years ago or whatever.
Okay.
But I knew right then that was nothing but another white con.
The gig was
you
up.
You can go back to any of our so-called black organizations, and you'll find out that there's a white hand behind that black puppet. So I haven't been excited about them in a while.
Okay.
But I wanted to call in to let the family know that I was eavesdropping on Roland Martin the other night. And, well, you got to know your enemy. And there was this Negro professor on there. I'm not going to call his name, but he teaches at Howard. And he was talking about ADOS was nonsense. And then he and Roland got into a discussion about how ADOS really wasn't the way to go, because being black was the issue, because all black people suffer from stigma in this country.
Yeah.
And it's just what that young man was saying earlier. That's why you don't have more people involved with the ADOS movement. Number one, they're ashamed of slavery, still hanging on to that. But then there's this idea floating around out there that we don't have a right to look out for ourselves as ADOS people, but we need to include all black people, and by extension, all of these so-called people of color, and I hate that phrase, that suffer stigma and discrimination in this country. But once again, white folks' hands are always in it. They're diluting, or trying to dilute, the movement. They're trying to get everybody involved so everybody can get a payday but us. But I just thought that was interesting, because he brought up that stigma nonsense, and that's what's holding a lot of people back.
And it says they are for, I agree. They're ashamed of their own stuff. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, and they don't understand that ADOS people, we were brought here to make white people rich. And once we understand that, for real, then we can get some traction. We can get things, not that they aren't rolling now, don't get me wrong, but maybe we can open some more eyes.
Yeah.
If they just stop and think for a minute, why are we even here?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. True. Yeah, you're here to create white wealth. That's what you're here for. And we were supposed to die out. That's why I always say, like, ADOS is a miracle. Yeah. Like, the fact that we're still here is a miracle. Like, you can't speak against that freedom struggle. You know, and what has been sacrificed. And a lot of people who never sacrificed anything love to talk about what they would have did. Shut up. You wouldn't have done nothing. I can look at you right now and tell you wouldn't have done nothing.
Well, I just wanted to, like I said, drop that little line, and thank you and Tone, of course, for all that you do.
Absolutely.
I'm having a hell of a time trying to get two Negroes to agree on anything around here. So. And I'm waiting on HQ.
Oh, yes,
so
absolutely.
Myself.
Absolutely. I understand, family. And listen, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you. Get them two lines together. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate it, fam. Thank you. And let me just say this. She's right. I mean, it's just like, you know, the funniest thing is, when you look at some of these organizations who have been around for a long time and have never accomplished anything, you realize why. Because there's no case to be made for, well, there was a stigma. Like, you don't get reparations based on stigma. A lot of groups have stigma. That's something that happens within society. That's not, you know, that's just what it is. It's not the same thing as creating the wealth that the country lives on. And so you're trying to, because you're weak, so you're trying to please all these other people in your institution, in your life, in your circle. So you're not, you know, you're not well versed in the stuff you're supposed to be well versed in, and you say a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense. There's no reason that, forget the CBC, there's no reason that any white politician should support legislation just based on stigma. They will support legislation based on a claim that can be supported, that ADOS built the country and everything in it, right? That's a claim you can make. That's a justice claim. So it's a shame that people at these universities, my alma mater, are allowed to, you know, like, teach young minds when their minds haven't proven any real usefulness. That's problematic, but it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm going now to what will probably be the last caller. I'm going to 850. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, what's up?
Not too much. What's going on with you? What's up with you?
Oh, okay. Not much. I didn't have my thoughts all the way together tonight, but I just wanted to touch on two quick points. In terms of, like, this whole conversation as it relates to allyship, and immigrants kind of shooing in on our justice claim. One thing I thought was very interesting is that when immigrants come to the United States and they become citizens, what I don't notice or what I don't see are, movements that are being formed for them to fight against the United States as it relates to our foreign policy back in their home countries. What I see is just people taking advantage or reaping the benefits of, what we have done in this country. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, yeah, because like when you come here, and I don't take anything away from that, right? When you come here, you're in survival mode a lot of the times, right? And even if you come from an elite background, you're like, I'm about to make this money, right? Even if you come from so you're not thinking about, I'm going to go back home. You're thinking about, listen, if you're elite, you're thinking about, I don't care about people who are back home. If you're poor, you're thinking about, I got to make money to send money to people who are back home. You're not thinking about doing no political. You're thinking about doing some other stuff. And that's why solidarity is oftentimes very, very, very difficult. And the onus shouldn't be on me to build solidarity with you when you're here because of what my people did. Like, stop putting on, we got to reach out to them. Why I got to reach out to them? Why they don't reach out to me? Why I got to talk to them all the time? Why they don't want to talk to me? If it wasn't for ADOS and my people, you wouldn't be here right now. So why I got to reach out and talk to you?
Absolutely. The last point I wanted to make was, so I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and my friend is what we call an African. She's part ADOS and part Ghanaian, and specifically Ashanti tribe, right?
Okay.
And so we were talking, and I was, trying to break down ADOS to her. But what I noticed, even with another friend of mine who is half Honduran, but her Honduran side is fully black, what I noticed is that there's like this visceral response that they have where they like fall into their immigrant side. Now, mind you, both of these individuals was born and raised and lived ADOS lives in this country. But she kept saying y'all, and then she kept saying we, and so I had to stop her. I'm like, are you referring to your Ghanaian side, or are you referring to your ADOS side? Because the conversation started where we were both talking about, our experience, our shared experience, having a parent who fell victim to the drug epidemic and not being able, and now, having a parent who is like in their 60s still not being able to be stable and to come up out of that, and how we're kind of dealing with those things now, as Antonio said, with the formula for wealth, that second part where it's like current family. And the conversation just kind of like went off the Richter. She was saying like, like black immigrants aren't to blame because y'all wouldn't even be able to access those jobs anyway because they got better education. And I'm like I just got confused because I'm like, which side are you on? Like, you're in America living an ADOS life, but you're elevating your Ghanaian side that you have really no attachment to. And so I just thought it was interesting to see. And it just speaks to the fact that allyship is very fragile, even amongst people in our own groups, whether it's Pan-Africanists, ADOS people, or Africans, or like, black immigrants in general.
All of a sudden, you don't claim the side you don't even know no more. You don't claim. Well, okay, then be that then. Well, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't what? Well, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't what? Give me that again. What would we not be able to do? What are you talking about? People just talk. People just like love to like adopt the anti-ADOS rhetoric. And so like we can so what you did was good, because what you did was challenge the superficiality of the relationship, right? Because a lot of us believe we have certain friends, be they white friends or other friends, until we challenge the superficiality of that relationship. Okay, if we friends, let's get deep for a minute. When you get deep for a minute, you find out how people really feel. Mm-hmm. And that's what you did.
I promise you that, like, for the past decade, all I've talked about is like race issues. That's what I'm known for on social media. But most of that was like centered around talking about white people and white supremacy. As soon as I started challenging black people or black immigrants, there's silence, there's avoidance, there's like people just like, it's like I don't exist no more to them. So I just thought I thought that part is very interesting.
Well, it's revealing. Clarity is key. It's very revealing. As long as I don't get into the nitty and the gritty of the thing, it's all right. Okay? Yeah, that's a problem, fam. That's a real problem. That's a real problem. That's not full support.
Yeah,
but I I want to absolutely thank you for calling in. It's true. It's true. You got to be able to have these kinds of conversations. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. You know, you got to be able to have the kind of conversation you want to have. Wait a minute, you don't want to. Well, y'all, wait a minute. Is it we? That's why we can't. That's why we can't do this thing where people force themselves to be. We all black the same. No, I don't have no problem with you being Kenyan. I don't have no problem with you putting the South African flag up in your Twitter icon. All of that. I don't got no problem with that. Do your thing. But understand, when I put the American flag up in mine, don't be mad because you in this country with me. People be all kinds of mad at you claiming the American flag and they did everything they could to get to America. Who do that? Now you got to just hush sometimes. But you know, that's just the way it is. And I think we have to. We can't let people force us into alliances and groups. It doesn't mean we disrespect you. It just means that ADOS is different from black immigrants. That is different from non-ADOS black Americans, which is different from somebody, a Mexican that just got here, a Honduran that just got here, or whatever, or a Haitian. It just all is different. But we're not the same. So let's not do that. We're not the same. And you don't get to move in and out of that we and we and us and then y'all. No, I'm gonna just put you in y'all from the beginning. I'm gonna separate us from jump. So you don't have to switch in between. How about we just do that? That all right? I'm gonna move you to y'all. I'm gonna put some boundaries right here. That's what we got to do. So I want to thank everybody for calling in, fam. We are at the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for calling in. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the show. Please, please, please remember the 25th, I think I said, of March. That's this month. Making Hispanics. Please pick up the book. Please read it. It's not a long read, so you should have plenty of time. Please like the show, like this show. If you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com/ycarnell, $breakingbrown for the Cash App, and donate, like I said, donatebrown.com. But listen, you can hit that like button right now. It costs you nothing. Hit that bell to make sure you're getting notifications. You can go to subscribetobrown.com, 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 and add your name to my mailing list. Costs you nothing. I just keep it there just in case I need it. I want to send some stuff out. Costs you no money. You can do that. You can go to adosmerch.com and buy a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. What else do we have? But again, you can hit that subscribe button. Costs you nothing. You can hit that like button. Absolutely free. Absolutely free. So, you know, it's a pandemic, fam. Everybody's going through. Just please make sure you hit the like button for me so, you know, so we get some likes up in here. So, anyway, fam, I want to thank y'all. We are at the end. I want you to wear your mask. Keep it easy breezy. Take care of yourself. Finish your libation. And don't let nobody bother you. And please don't bother nobody. Don't nobody need nobody running around getting on their nerves all the time. Life is stressful enough. I will see you next time, fam.